Hello everybody, welcome to the Fed Trend Show. So let's talk about the government fiscal year. Now, we're coming up on the fourth quarter of the government fiscal year, and now's a good time, actually, a few months out, to start talking about things that we can be doing, whether we're in ops, program delivery, program managers, or if we are in the capture BD side of the business, what things can we be doing right now to try to help our customers either get the maximum value that they can out of the contract, or how can we fulfill the revenue potential that we had on our contracts. Now, the first one that's pretty simple is just fill open job recs. If there are open roles on programs, now's a really good time to get those filled, so that as the government rolls into the new fiscal year, they are expecting those roles to be filled. It's very, very easy for a contract to end up getting drawn down some if there are a lot of vacancies that aren't getting filled, because why is the government going to allocate money that's never getting used? The next thing is to look for organic growth on existing projects. And really what that needs to be focused on, the right way to do it, in my opinion, is what value can we deliver to the government with additional funding on our current program. So that could be something like we could implement a new tool. We could upgrade the reporting capability. We could tackle some backlog data or records that we haven't been able to get to. So don't just talk about we could add a couple of people. Let's talk about what could we accomplish if our customer has additional funding that is available that they need to use by the end of the fiscal year. The next one is related to that, but it's offer something unique as a subcontractor to someone that already has a contract. If you know that there might be funding in an environment where there's a prime contractor that already has a contract in place, coming to them with something along the lines of, we also are in this environment and we know that the government has been trying to test out a new user interface, for example. You could pitch, if you're a UI UX company, you could pitch, we could do a pilot through your contract. That can be a way to go, because if the customer has money but doesn't know what exactly is the best way to get value out of that, you can give them make it easy for them. Give them an option that works for them. The next one is you can close a license or ODC, another direct cost gap for a customer. If you know that there's something that you're already using in the customer environment, whether that be ServiceNow or Salesforce or whatever the tool might be, offer to solve that licensing for them for the next couple of years. So if they have some funding that they need to do something with this current year, talk to them about extending that licensing out a couple of years so that they can get a really good use out of money that they have that's available to them. The next piece is a lot of times customers will have issues with money that needs to be used this year. Well, what do? Sometimes you talk to them about, well, a time and materials solution, we can only use so much of that money in this current fiscal year. But if you talk to them about a fixed price add-on, here's a requirement where we know the government needs to get something done. If it's a fixed price task, then that means the government can maybe obligate all of that money now, so they get a really good use of their current year funding that can stretch into performance that might go out several months or a year or more, depending on, there's a lot of financial logistics to that. The last one that I would offer as far as things to, positive ways to do this is look for a pilot, probably with an 8A. I mean, from the timeline of a couple of months, you're going to probably need to have that sole sourced, and going through an 8A partner is usually the best way to do that. So have a full concept of here's what we think would be value for you, for your customer organization. We could put a pilot together and you could sole source it and put it with working through this 8A partnership. Those are some positive ways that you can work with customers to make sure they get value out of all of the funding that's available to them, and and do it with focus on value for their mission, something that's really going to benefit them, not just a revenue add-on. I never advocate for that. Here's a couple of things that you shouldn't expect or shouldn't look for as we come to the end of the fiscal year. Number one, don't try for demand creation right now. And what I mean by that is, if you haven't been engaged in a conversation about a pilot, if you haven't been engaged in a conversation about doing work for a particular organization, starting that conversation now is probably not going to help. It takes too long. You're going to take a month or two to talk over requirements and make decisions. Then you're going to end up right at the end of the fiscal year with a customer trying to go to acquisitions and ask them to shoehorn some action into their already busy stack of procurement tasks. That rarely goes very well. And so I think demand creation is a much longer term activity. I wouldn't try to force that in right now. The other thing that I wouldn't look for is the proverbial windfall of RFPs in the fourth quarter. So credit goes to the Pulse. So Amber Hart and her team, some excellent data analysis that they did is that Q4 of government seems like it averages only about 31% of the procurement activities across the calendar year. So it's only slightly more than what you would expect in an average quarter. So you're not going to see some dramatic amount of purchasing. Now, there are times where the government will go out and try to take some hardware purchases off the table, some licensing, some ODC spend. I think ODC spend is probably a little bit higher in Q4 than other quarters, but for pure services procurements, it's pretty much just another quarter. So don't think that Q4 needs to dramatically change your strategy or your focus. So those are some things to think about that might work in Q4, and some things that probably are not necessarily going to be all that fruitful. So best of luck. Thanks for watching. See you next time.